None of the decisions that we made as a band early on were like verbal. You know, we never talked about what we wanted things to be. We'd just make them and then be like, oh, that works with that, you know. But the band, starting the band was definitely like the jumping off point for that was us realizing that we both really liked a lot of late 50s and early 60s music and sharing that back and forth with each other and listening to that. And then you know, so when we started to make this band, we never thought that we were going to be a band. We were just like, oh, we'll make a little music project and maybe we'll play one show or something. So we were taking those influences and trying to like apply them to something new. A lot of the process of this band has been finding out how much we can do on the stage with, you know, the least amount of people. Like Gabe plays glockenspiel, sampler, keyboard, loop pedal, and guitar. And sings, and then I play keyboard, sampler, loop pedal, guitar, sing, and there's so many things going on between the two of us at all times, and I'm kind of interested to see what we can do with just the same thing, how much further we can push it, if we can play something.
That was probably the hardest part of anything we've had to
do. The most like inspiring and also frustrating instrument that we had decided to use really early on, thankfully, is the MPC 1000, which is like kind of the brain of our whole show, like playing those samples live and manipulating them and stuff. And that's like, you know, using samplers has allowed us to perform everything from the record without a backing track, which we've like never wanted to use. But it's just endlessly frustrating to deal with that stuff every night. You gotta have really nice cases. I think the most important thing about being the most important practice for being like an artist or a creative person is just to like always write things down. You know, like sometimes a riff will come into your head, like you know, you'll hear like a song through a door in another room and then like think of like, oh, that's cool. You walk in, it doesn't sound like what you thought of. You're like, no, but what I thought of was cooler. Like go and, you know, write it down and like even make like a little goofy iPhone memo of you singing. Like that's how our song.
So many iPhone memos on my
phone.
I just went through the other day. I was like,
yeah, even if you're just, you gotta not be afraid to like think that any idea is stupid, because a lot of the things that were like the stupidest ideas, like me driving on Christmas singing into the phone, ended up being, you know, some of our most important songs. So it's just like keeping with it and just doing it all the time, and then when it comes time for record, it's like you have all these crazy pieces everywhere and you can just kind of assemble it together.
Definitely not words first ever. It's usually Brian will work on the instruments and I'll be like listening in the other room, or he'll send me over tracks and we go from there. So
it's like a little factory.
Yeah.
The writing process is usually just the process of getting like tons of little snippets of stuff down. Like almost every song starts with a bass line and then moves into drums and then moves into like chord content and then you know, leads and melodies. But before this band, I had never played guitar. I was always a bass player, and like every bass player, I like dreamed about switching to guitar. So when this band took off, I was like, fuck everything, I'm playing guitar. So that's been like part of the fun of this band, is figuring out how to play guitar and like finding a style with that. But yeah, bass is like always the number one thing, and a lot of times the bass informs the melody. You know? All we did in the studio, in the professional studio, was guitars and vocals. Everything else, I like would program at home, like with, you know, keyboards or whatever limited instruments I had. And that method works for us because, you know, obviously you want those two parts to be really excellent, but everything else like was about taking, you know, these recordings that I'd made and then processing them so that they sound different and more interesting. It was really like insular for us because we weren't playing music, you know, for like the first year that we were living in New York and going to school. So it's like you go see your friends' bands. If anything, like it was, our band was inspired like out of maybe jealousy more than anything. You know what I mean? Because all your friends are like playing
going
cool
on
shows,
tour and you're like going to class.
yeah, and we were like, him and her brother is like a, you know, successful musician in his own right, and we go see his shows all the time, and you know, it's like, well, we want to do that. We could probably do that if we tried, you know. So, you know, our greatest goal was just to play like one of those, you know, cruddy East Village venues that all our friends would play, and we got to play them, and now we're here.
Everybody says it sounds so much different. I think because everybody's so much better and more confident.
Yeah, and also like, you know, we try to like, on the record, what we were trying to do had a lot to do with like ambience and like, you know, dreamlike qualities of repetition, but live, you know, we'd rather create more of like a fun atmosphere. It's more fun for us to play if we can like mix things up rhythmically and get loud and get quiet, and you know, that's informed our band a lot because we never played live before we wrote the record.
Mm-hmm.
We played like, we'd gone on one tour before we finished it, and that was like 2 weeks. We never considered the way that we were gonna have to play the songs live when we wrote them, and that's like a really important thing to have in your mind as a band, because I feel like you write your record, you know, over a span of 3 months, and you record it, and then you go and you play it every day for a year. So there's little ways that we're approaching the new songs where we're like building small parts that could end up being parts we could jam on, or like, you know, different things that like that are more fun for us to play live. And that's exciting because it's gonna make, you know, the show for us a lot more interesting. When we walked in to check all the ideas out, our video commissioner at our label, Sky Bryan, was like, all right, I have like 8 really awesome ideas, and then I have one idea that's totally batshit crazy, but
I don't even want to tell you
He's
guys.
like, I don't even want to tell you about it because we're never gonna be able to make it work. And we're like, let's get that one first.
We didn't even listen to any of the other treatments. We just heard that one and we're like, we have to make this happen. That we have to do this. It just was so.
But we're lucky enough that we've had like a really like open and cool relationship with the people who run the Jonestown archive, who are actually
from the
San
beginning,
Diego.
like within the first 2 weeks of Go Outside coming out, the guy who runs the Jonestown archive emailed us and was like, I really love this. So, and they've been really
So they gave us all that footage, and then they sent it out in their like biannual newsletter and everything. And we've gotten all these emails from survivors and stuff. It's been a crazy experience. For the first like year of this band, I like kick myself now at how like unwilling we were to invest in our own show. Like, I mean, we were playing like, you know, coffee houses and pizza places, but Madeline was, you know, singing into different mics every night and getting sick from them and stuff like that.
Like breathing in people's blood.
Yeah. And then when we finally got around to buying our own like Beta 58s for all the vocal mics, we were like, oh my God, thank God. And we had them all like color coded. We're like, don't touch my mic. And that like gave us, you know, like the level of consistency where we were just like, okay, well, I know what this is going to sound like, and I know that it's not going to be gross. And that was super helpful. And then as time's gone on, you know, we've just like tried to put everything that we have back into the show and just make, you know, more and more together and consistent as we can. The KSM 9s that we use are like amazing. It's like night and day with anything else. Like the way that you can hear the upper harmonics in your voice, it just helps so much with pitch recognition. It like compared to like mics that don't have as much high end. It makes you more confident because you get to hear like more cool smokers gristle in your voice. you're like, yeah. But yeah, and just, you know, having everything set up the same way with our own DI boxes, you pull up the file and you're ready to play. It's like amazing. For us, the point of like doing this tour was to go around and play for everybody that hadn't gone to see us, or if maybe they had in a bad kind of boring circumstance to do one last run of the show the way that we always wanted to do it. And it's kind of unfortunate today how little room bands get to breathe from everybody. It's like every time I feel like we play something new on the stage,
It's
it's
on
like
YouTube.
crappy
the next day.
cell phone YouTube video. It gets tens of thousands of hits, and then everyone's like, you know, ripping it on the CDs.
Horrible.
And it's like, you know, bands don't get that space anymore to you know, build things up and create them. So we have, we're going to Europe soon. We're going to play a bunch of new songs there, and hopefully they won't
Won't make it over here.
we'll make it over on the way.